Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome once again, as always, to another helping of Mr. H's Hot Pot. Join me today on the outskirts of Leigh, or Leigh, as us Wiganers say, and it's about 7 miles away from my hometown of Wigan. And I've come to Leigh today to take a look at a seasonal World War II relic. Now, the reason I say that it's seasonal is because you can only see it at certain times of the year. If you try and come and take a look at it in the summer months when all these trees here are in full bloom, you won't get to see it. Although it's right at the side of the main road. Now, a big thank you to a gentleman by the name of Piffy Ray, who's commented on one of my videos and told me about this little relic. Also, Mr. Leigh Hurley, the ever dependable Leigh Hurley, has also told me about this. Now, you guys told me about this relic about 3 years ago, and it's taken me 3 years to get my backside in gear and come and take a look at it. But as I said, the main reason is I've not been able to do it. Whenever I've decided I'll go and take a look at that little World War II relic that they told me about, it's always been in full bloom and I've not been able to see it. Anyway, we're now approaching it, so I'll whip the camera around and we'll get cracking and get straight into this video, shall we? And here we are, Hot Potters. This is that World War II relic that we're going to be taking a closer look at in a moment. But before we do, I'll put in a screen grab of what this looks like when all the trees are in full bloom, and as you'll be able to see, it's well camouflaged. So, without further ado, let's cross over the road, shall we? And take a closer look at it. Now, this is a really interesting little bunker. Not least because it doesn't appear on any of the stop lines that they built during the Second World War, which was hardened field defences, and the idea of those stop lines was to stop any enemies that might be moving inland. Do apologise for that, they're not coming for me, honestly. And it's rather interesting as to why this was built here. Sadly, the people who would have been around when this was built and manned, they're no longer with us. Slowly, the war generation is passing away, so we're just left to our own imagination as to why this was placed here so close to the main road. Now, further up the road from where I started this video used to be Bickisher Colliery, and one of the theories is that this little bunker was built here to protect that colliery. However, I've done a little bit of research online, and what there used to be here, just at the back of this bunker, was the Wesley railway line. It's long since gone. I think it was lifted in 1968. But where I'm now stood would have been a railway embankment. Just where those cars are passing through used to be a bridge with the railway going over. And my theory is that what they would have done back in the day, the Home Guard would have basically blocked the road to stop any enemies that was using the road to head into Leigh. So I think this is an homemade job, if that makes any sense. It's pretty well built though. And I think that's why it's been built here at such an odd angle. I'll just make my way back towards the road. And you can see it's not built square. They would have been able to fire from that opening there and that one there. And it would have faced that way. Now, have you ever seen the film Dad's Army, the 1971 film, not that rubbish that they made recently, the one with Arthur Lowe? They do a good little comedic scene where they block the road and they basically man it, and then there's a car backfiring and they wonder if the Germans have landed behind them. So they sort of run round to the other side, and that's what I could have imagined here. But a railway embankment would have made a great natural defence, and that's why I think this bunker was built here. Anyway, let's go and take a look inside it, shall we? I don't know, the things I do for you hot potters. And here we are inside. Not the biggest of bunkers that I've ever been in from the Second World War. I personally think that what this would have been is a machine gun post. What you've got to remember is all these trees wouldn't have been here. You would have had a clear line of sight down that road. I don't know if you can just make out there through the trees. Vehicles passing. We'd have had a clear line of sight that way. And then this way. And then this would have given them a chance to fire at any vehicles as they tried to go beneath the railway bridge that used to be there. And then the entrance here would have been protected by the railway embankment. You can always tell which way they would have expected the enemy to come by the way they placed the door. And you can see it's pretty well made, for it says it was just no doubt hastily thrown together. But this isn't an official one. It was an home built job. Probably built to give the home guard something to play with. And there's no graffiti on it, surprisingly enough. There is a bit of rubbish in here. There's an old tyre. I doubt that's from the Second World War. And someone's flip-flop. And I can stand up in it, so although it doesn't look very deep from the main road, it is once you get into it. And this puts you on level with the road. And it's amazing that this is still here. Especially when you come to think that the railway embankment that was behind it has been removed. So it would have been very easy to have just demolished this along with it. Anyway, I'm going to make my way out of here now. And we'll wrap this one up, I think. Not the easiest thing to get in and out of hot potters. I'm sure back in the day it was a lot easier. But just look at that reinforcing there that they put on the top. There's what, 5-6 course of brickwork there that was built over it, and then no doubt infilled with concrete to create a thick roof. I don't think this would have held up to a direct assault from the Germans, to be honest. Probably more of a morale booster, and like I say, something for the home guard to play with. But if you're wondering where this is and you'd like to come and take a look at it yourself, it's located on Plank Lane, where Plank Lane meets the rather colourful name of Slag Lane, and it's near the lift bridge. But don't come in the summer months because you won't be able to see it. It gets rather overgrown in here. But a magnificent relic from the Second World War, and it's nice to see that it's still here. Just sat here waiting for an enemy that will never come. Right then, I'm going to whip the camera around and wrap this one up. Right, Hot Potters, well that'll just about do it for me for today. I hope you've enjoyed today's little video, taking a look at that little relic from the Second World War that sits here right at the side of the main road where Plank Lane meets Slag Lane, just outside of Leigh. Big thank you to Mr. Piffy Ray for pointing that out. I'm sorry it's taken me 3 years to get to it to take a look at it, but as you know, once the trees start getting into bloom, you've no chance of getting to it. It looks like at some point that a car has ploughed through the fence at that point, and it's lucky that it didn't end up crashing into it and destroying it, really, isn't it? Anyway, I'm now going to make my way back to the old jalopy, head off back to the old homestead in Wigan. Hopefully they'll have removed some of the temporary traffic lights. It was a pig to get to today, as there's been lots of roadworks between Wigan and Leigh. But hopefully I'll be able to get back, edit up all this footage ready for your edification. And until the next time, all that's left for me to say is bye-bye for now.